Sword Art Online Progressive Aria of a Starless Night movie is coming out in fall 2021, but everyone's still asking when the next main arc after Alicization is going to be animated. Well, it will take at least 5 years if we assume Reki will not write longer than he initially intended, which never happens. There's one scenario where we may get a Unital Ring anime before most people imagine. Welcome everyone, it's me Gamerturk, your best source of Sword Art Online information, and let's talk about when Sword Art Online Unital Ring may be getting adapted. Of course, if you're interested in more in-depth coverage of SAO, liking and subscribing and hitting the bell icon will always help since YouTube algorithm works in mysterious ways. And if you want to hear the latest news on SAO as quickly as possible, my Twitter and Facebook pages are where you should be following. You know, making videos takes time. But our topic today is the Unital Ring arc. So, let's start with the most likely scenario. Currently, there are 4 volumes of Sword Art Online Unital Ring published so far, and Reki Kawara stated that we were around the midpoint of the story. Now, putting aside the fact that Reki loves writing more than he claims he's going to write by adding multiple midpoints and twists into his stories, taking the roller coaster into an entirely different direction, Alicization. If we take this statement at face value, that is a minimum of 4 more years for Unital Ring to reach its conclusion, and that is assuming a very fast yearly release schedule for the series. Currently, there is a chance that the upcoming Unital Ring 5 to not get the usual December slot for 2021, as Reki is publishing 2 progressive volumes in a single year to complete the Floor 7 story, and he is thus busy as fuck. But setting that aside, the story getting completed in the next 4 years, in the best case scenario that is, which likely won't happen, means that the anime can only properly begin proper production in the next 4 years. And that potentially means we can only get an announcement in 5 years or so in this specific best case scenario. For reference, Alicization anime was supposedly in production since Ordinal Scale movie came out, so you can imagine how long the early stages of production takes before things are actually announced to you, specifically the viewer. Mind you, when you hear us say wait 5 years for the anime, that's more of a casual statement. Do not actually go thinking it's happening in 5 years. However, there is one unlikely scenario where we actually may get a Unital Ring anime much earlier than that, and before I start, I'd like to really stress this as much as possible. This is a very unlikely scenario and ultimately works heavily against the quality of the anime adaptation. Not that Alicization anime did so great with the amount of time it had with the full story in their hands. You see, I hinted at this earlier, Reki just loves putting massive twists that take the story in an entirely different direction in the middle of the story. This was of course the case in Alicization, where the entire story was set up in a way to make you think Kirito reaching an admin console and contacting Kikoka would bring the end of the story, but the entire Human Realm sub-arc with a massive swing twisted into the War of Underworld sub-arc. Now, we can potentially expect a similar thing in Unital Ring. Aside from all the hints that we are getting regarding a potential connection to Accel World, Unital Ring still does not feature a clear antagonist for the big picture related stuff, like the mystery that is going on with Underworld. I won't go into specifics, of course, to keep this video spoiler free. You know, the lack of a clear antagonist so far is a sign that the story will likely flip over its head at some point, which is already being hinted at concerning Underworld. On top of this looming mystery, there's also the fact that Alicization ended with a clear tease. The tale of Alicization ends here, but Kirito and Asuna and Leafa and Shinon and others will join Alice in battle beyond this point. When they next gather, swords in hand, it will be for the final greatest battle of all, the Inter-Intelligence War. Obviously, Unital Ring still has no circumstances that even hints at an Inter-Intelligence War, but our teaser from Alicization states that we should be getting it right here. The next time all our heroes meet is indeed Unital Ring, literally where all VR worlds of the Seed Nexus have united in one VR survival RPG. Everybody is here. So the general assumption is that the Unital Ring arc will eventually turn into 2 sub-arc structure, the same as Alicization having a Human Realm sub-arc and a War of Underworld sub-arc. And that is where there's a chance for starting the adaptation early on. I mean, many people already mistakenly believe this was the case with Season 3 anyways, so the assumption would be that the first half of Unital Ring can get its own season as a quote-unquote season 4 without waiting for the hypothetical Unital Ring Inter-Intelligence War sub-arc to be concluded in the light novels, which would be turned into a completely separate season 5 a couple years down the line when it finishes in the books. This would easily allow the production to begin in the next year or two, getting us an announcement in 2 to 3 years for a Unital Ring anime. And now, I will crush all your dreams and talk about why this is an absolutely terrible choice just to get an anime out as early as possible. For a proper adaptation, the staff simply needs to have the full context of a story. This is not extremely important, although it still exists between completely separate stories. For example, the importance of Poe is barely a topic in Aincrad itself, whereas he has massive screen time in Alicization. So if SAO was not completely written long before the anime started as a web novel, we would potentially get no teases at all for Poe all the way back in Aincrad anime. But I'm already digressing too much, especially in tightly knit stories. You simply do need the full context of characters to portray them in their true nature. In the case of Alicization, to give you an example, you simply cannot try animating the Human Realm arc without a clue about the War of Underworld arc, since very subtly and intentionally, the entire Human Realm arc is building towards the War of Underworld portion of the story. And while you, the viewer or the reader, you only realize why the mentions of Subtilizer, Shinnon's Nightmares, all the way mentions of Dark Territory and Goddess of Underworld once you read War of Underworld itself. For an adaptation that has to decide what things to emphasize in their adaptation and what things to cut out for the adaptation, the context of the stories, the other half, it is absolutely key. The fact that one minor detail may look extremely irrelevant doesn't change the fact that it is a massive hint for something about to happen later in that second half. And if you don't have the context as an anime producer that, you know, this thing that is portrayed in the first half is gonna come back in a massive way in the second half, you may just go, okay, no need to put this in, sounds pretty unimportant, which ironically happened to a lot of scenes in Alicization, but we'll chalk that up to Ono doing a terrible job anyways. All in all, yes, if you really want to be disappointed, there is a minuscule chance that Unital Ring may get an adaptation much earlier than we expect. However, realistically speaking, it most certainly will not happen. Also, realistically speaking, Reki will probably take much more than 4 years to finish the arc anyways, so even the 5-year assumption is an extremely unlikely scenario. Especially if you consider that he has been trying to conclude the story of Accel World for the majority of the past decade or so, which should give you an idea as to what to expect here. So I hope you enjoyed this little exploration into the possibilities regarding Unital Ring anime, and one last time I repeat, these have been completely hypothetical scenarios. If someone ever sends you into this video as a source for claiming Sword Art Online Unital Rings will be animated in 3 years, you can safely call them idiots and preferably never trust them again on anything for your own sake. But again, subscribing, hitting the bell and liking helps you get the best content on Sword Art Online here on YouTube. And if you want to go the extra mile and help me improve my content, you can always become a patron or a channel member with additional benefits. The first day posters and many other merch are available on my Teespring page. Thanks to all my patrons and channel members as always, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay cool.